Down to the 50th episode of Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces with Mark Boatwright Frost. Our topic today is, what is real security? Is it an accumulation of wealth? Is it a militarized police force or private arms? Is it locking up or getting rid of people who you see as not like you? Is it global isolation? Is it fascism and an authoritarian leader? The media constantly tells us that many people believe that this is security. Let's talk about what most of us would find really secure. And with that, and not much further ado, I bring you Mark Boatwright Frost.
Hello, all,
Afternoon, Mark.
and good, and welcome to the 50th episode.
Yeah, 50 of them. I would say that I'm honored. I mean, in 50 of them, I've done four.
Yeah, well, Marwan is a busy man, and you fill in nicely for it. And actually, we usually have some really good conversations, and I don't think this one will be any different because I think you will see where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
Um, so the lead in, we're told that we need to have firewalls and virus protection and protection for this and protection from that. We need to have a strong police force to protect us, even though they have been told by the Supreme Court in the last few years that protect and serve really isn't their role. They don't need to worry about that anymore.
Well, yeah, but that comes back to the defunding the police, the various other things that have gone on in the media, and I mean, some bad
Hey,
apples
Kendra.
have drove a lot of that.
Yeah, well, and part of it is, what people don't realize is the police has predominantly been defunded. Bremerton Police Department has been running on minimum manpower for years, just about since COVID started. The sheriff's department here, most of the police departments do not have enough police to man the streets. It's what's going on. So that's already happening. Um, Crime is going up because of the economy. I mean, it's all tied together. Homelessness is about the economy. It's about the way we look at things, the way we treat each other, the way
Mhm.
we think of each other and are told to think of each other as a way to get something as opposed to a person to connect with. So, real security isn't about any of those things. I mean, let's be honest. How many of us are going to be able to live in a gated community when the statistics say 46% of us are one paycheck away from homelessness, maybe two?
Yeah, that living in a gated community is well, a dream for, like you said, about half of us. So,
So we end up in a situation where we either have to depend on each other or we have to depend on ourselves. And let's talk about that second scenario first. We are sold independence like it is the way we all have to be. We are the gunfighter in the West. We are the sole guy with a gun on our hip that can take on the entire list of bad guys, whoever those bad guys are identified by your favorite conspiracy theory spin artist. I know more people that look at survival and getting through hard times as bunkering with food and guns than I do about people who want to get to know their neighbors and have each other's back.
yeah, but
For
isn't
some
that
reason, that is so much easier than the scariness of having to connect with somebody. Why
but
is that?
isn't that I mean, that's how the media sells it to us though, too.
The
Think about it. I mean, you think about
media,
it.
corporations, politics, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they all sell you that post-apocalyptic version of what the world is, and it's, "I gotta look out for me and mine, and, I'm gonna bunker down wherever I can get food. You know what? If you come for my stuff, you're done."
So let's be real. Mad Max could not have stood on his own.
No.
He'd
No.
have been dead. He'd have been dead quick.
Yes.
And you don't stand off and fight people. You hide. That's
Yeah.
the smart thing to do. And
Mhm.
guns run out of bullets. Bows run out of arrows.
Well, it brings you back to, I'm going to assume that you're watching The Last of Us because of our likes of various different things.
I haven't started it yet, but I'm going to.
Well, I big fan of both the games, so yeah, as soon as it started, I was in. But there's a line in there that Joel says. Ellie asks him, "Why are you putting away this automatic rifle?" Right? Because I mean, it's got stuff, and he's hiding it away. And she asked him, "Why are you doing that?" And he goes, "Because there are no bullets for this kind of gun out there. The gun is useless."
If I find some, I might be able to use it, but I'm going to use it to kill food as opposed
Yep.
to try and stand off an army.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, we are sold a fantasy day in, day out, all the time, and and we're sold products and thoughts that are bound to real security. So let's talk about a scenario here.
Mhm.
And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm getting ready to write an article about uh, the end of humanity, which is not a myth anymore. It's looking us square in the face. And if we don't pull our heads out of that dark, smelly place, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm saying, assumptions and acceptance is going to be the end of humanity.
Mhm.
So let's talk about assumptions. There's a lot of assumptions in security, but let's talk about just general assumptions. We all assume, whether we know it or not to be real, we all assume that someone is doing the work.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact no one is.
Mhm.
They're all running systems. They're all running systems that somebody else gave them. We are taught from the very earliest age that someone else has the answer for us, but so is everybody else. So who's developing that answer?
Well, I would tell you most people would say the government is. That's a
Uh-huh.
myth, and that is not a true statement, as in the government is not doing those things, but
No,
that's what
and
most people
but they
assume.
get you to buy into the whole political system, and it's not that I'm anti-political,
Mhm.
um, and God knows there's enough reason to be political right now, but there's much more reason to come together as a community
Right.
because you're not going to be able to do it on your own. Nobody has the freaking answer. If you actually knew what was going on, you'd be having your head in the sand much deeper than you are now. Trouble with having your head in the sand is your butt's in the air and someone's going to kick it.
Well,
Um,
they're gonna do something else to it too, but we'll leave that alone.
I don't have any interest in scaring the hell out of people. I don't.
Yeah.
Because by and large, human beings have a few responses to fear. We have fight or we have flight, and neither one of those things is going to do you any good right now.
No.
What's going to do you good is learning the tools to connect to other human beings.
Mhm.
What you're going to do, what's going to do you good is finding other puzzle pieces to bring to the table and learning what they know that you don't and bringing them together because that's where the real knowledge is that we need to get through this. It's
Yep.
not in any individual, it's not in a government force because they don't have that information. God knows anybody who's ever called customer service with the IRS or with the uh, Small Business Administration, you think about it as you're going, okay, how many people am I going to have to get to before I have somebody that has a clue?
If you can
And
get
how
to a
many
person.
hours, if there is somebody with a clue, and how many hours am I going to have to spend on the phone to do something that should take me 5 minutes?
Yep.
And this is one that really gets me. And actually, I'm going to be political and go talk to a congressman soon about the IRS's new login. The IRS outsourced their login for their website to get to the being able to file taxes and everything to an private organization called ID Me. And I started going through their process to get the login. And about the time that they wanted me to give them my social security number
Mhm.
and my driver's license picture and all the rest of this stuff, and then asked me to provide my credit history and access to the credit things, I said, fuck you. Excuse my language. You can beep that out.
Mhm.
I'm like going, I wouldn't give this to anybody, and everybody tells you not to give this stuff to people.
Yeah, so why are you
But
asking
the
me for it?
IRS is saying this is how you log into our site now. So I can't file my taxes online at the IRS because I refuse to go through this process. And I'm not paranoid, but
Yeah.
they are overreaching what they're asking for by a lot.
Well, I mean, for years I've thought the government has overreached on many things, and I mean, we can stem this back to 9/11. We gave up basic freedoms when 9/11 happened, and well, once you gave them up, they're not giving them back.
Yeah.
So
Well, they can and will give them back if people come together and decide that that's enough. Now, let's take that model of putting the puzzle pieces together even further.
mhm.
So let's say your neighborhood, you and your neighbors get together and start talking. Even the guy on the end of the street who's grumpy and hates kids. Okay, there's a
Hey, I'm
way
not.
to find, yeah, there's a way to find commonality with them. Look at Rob and I, we're talking. Um, so find,
Exactly.
and there's ways that you can start helping each other locally. It doesn't take more. It's not scary except at the very beginning because everybody's scared of everybody because welcome to what we've been have shoved down our throat for years.
Yep.
So that's real security. No one wants to tackle an entire neighborhood,
No.
but they'll tackle you.
Yeah.
In a disaster, you want to know if you're trapped in your house and let's say a rafter fell on you or something, you want to know that
Mhm.
one of your neighbors is going to come check on you.
Mhm. Yes.
Very basic. That is not even a baby step to know
Yeah.
that you can do that. We already talk about neighborhood watches. We don't have enough of them. We don't have a police force with enough manpower to set up the system or go train people and to manage it. We just
Mhm.
don't because we keep for all of the time we talk about the money that goes into the police department. Seems to just vanish and never come through with the people. And the fire department's the same thing. We do bond issue after bond issue after bond issue, and they still need more. So who's
Yeah.
paying for the fire department? Who's paying for the fire department? Who's paying for the first responders? And where's the transparency about where that money goes? That's more my issue. And this is not me ranting about I don't trust them. It's like
No,
I
I'd
want to
just like to
know. I want to know
where
where
their
the money
money's being
is.
spent.
Where's the annual report that tells me where the money for the police department went?
Mhm.
Where's the annual report that says where the money for the fire department went? I not that I begrudge these people anything, they're
No.
first responders, but I want to know that it's being. First of all, I want to know it's getting to them, and then
Yeah.
second of all, I want to know that they are being taken care of with it and that everything is fine. And do I know enough to know between all the rhetoric and everything else what that is? Yeah, I do because I have an ability to think and I would read it and understand that this is what's going on. And you can make it in plain English, you just have to get a lawyer out of the middle.
Yeah.
Um, but real security isn't really going to be with them. If when Cascadia Rising happens, the police department isn't going to get to your door.
No.
Fire department's not either. Look at the repair of the streets that we have around here. A 9 magnitude quake, even a 7 magnitude quake, which is what they had in Turkey, that dropped whole city blocks,
That would
thousands
destroy
of
this city.
buildings.
Yeah.
That was a magnitude quake. A 6.9 magnitude quake is what happened is known as the World Series quake or Loma Prieta.
Yeah.
And the Bay Bridge dropped, which is one of the most modern structures in the world and probably one of the most cared for. The center section dropped out of the Bay Bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
remember all that.
do you think Kitsap County, who I would challenge about whether they're earthquake standards, they're certainly not California earthquake standards, if any of the build or many of the buildings are going to be standing, or whether anybody's going to get anywhere, even with a smaller quake, like they're predicting from the Seattle quake, Seattle fault. I mean, we're looking at that. Is that real security, or is when something like that happens, your neighbors all come together and take care of each other? Is that real security?
Well, I would say the neighbors coming together is the real security part of it. As for first responders and stuff like that, I, yeah, they're not going to be able to get around. I mean, I can remember the earthquake that we had here in '01.
Nisqually
Yeah,
quake.
because Monkey would have been 11 months old. So, or, somewhere in that ballpark. But that earthquake, I mean, even that knocked out cell phone towers and everything here, and it wasn't near the magnitude it was. And we're talking 20 plus years ago at this point.
Hmm. And
I
have we
mean,
improved our building standards enough during that time, or have we let things run wild?
Well, the building standards are supposed to be to the California earthquake codes because that's why they put so many straps and so many other things on it. So your newer buildings, maybe, but your older buildings haven't been retrofitted. I mean, nobody's
So
gone
all
back
of
and
all of downtown Bremerton,
pretty much all of downtown Bremerton. I mean, the condos might be all right, but
and maybe Norm Dick's building, maybe.
yeah, yeah, the Norm Dix building might be all right because it was built in that time. But
Yeah.
but the other old buildings down there, no, no, like where our office is, no, that building's done for.
So that's the first thing, shelter. Real security. I think most people, and this is kind of getting into the meat of the program today. I think most people would say real security is not worrying about housing, not worrying about your private equity landlord who just bought up everything around you, jacking your price so high that you can't afford rent.
Yeah,
I think that they would think that real security is knowing that there's a place to go to if you've become homeless that will actually treat you like a human being and help you get back on your feet. I think
okay.
real security is knowing that you have a chance to live or somewhere to go when the feces hits the rotating device.
Yeah,
So, this is my thinking on the subject about real security. Most people, 90% of the people in this country, would feel that real security is shelter, food, water, and human support.
I think if they stopped and they thought about it, I think you're right. Okay, I think that if they're educated and would understand it better, I think you're also right. I think right now, from what I see from people, they're all relying on Big Daddy government.
Well, yeah, and Big Daddy government, we're going to have this conversation probably in another 20 episodes because it's not time yet.
Sorry.
There's a lot of foundation that needs to be laid before this. But I want people to start rethinking government. And I will be launching another channel on Resiliency Rocks
Okay.
in probably the next 30 days that is going to have 6-minute sections on a specific topic so that we have these great discussions here,
Yeah.
but I think that people need to have the specific topic and a brief thing on each specific topic to get their head wrapped around it, because a lot
Yeah.
of the things we talk about here, while common sense isn't all that common. And
Well, everybody'd have it if it was.
yeah, so we need to help with perspective. And that's not talking about government. It's not talking about religion. We won't be othering anybody on these. We will be talking about what humanity is. We will be talking about what security is, how to find security, the reason that you want to get to know your neighbors, the reason for your neighbors of why they want to get to know you.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the layers and layers and layers of psychology that prevent that from happening, and the constant inundation of you're not good enough. Why would they care to see you? And let me tell
Mhm.
you that that's a huge one for everybody,
Yeah.
unless you're a narcissist.
Well,
Um,
I
oh, well, I don't know about you. But on the other hand, is why would they want to get in? Why do you want to get to know them? Because they're scary. They might be better than you. And I'm just laying it on the line here because come
Oh,
on,
no,
folks.
no, yeah.
That's really what it's about.
I would agree. I mean, I know my neighbors now, but it took a lot for me to get to know my neighbors,
Yeah.
you know, because I
And
had
and you know that we try to do a community barbecue here, and out of the 300 or almost 600 people that could have shown up, maybe 60 did.
yeah.
And of those people, a lot of them were just hungry people. And I talked to the neighbors all around me, and they go, "Oh no, I don't
Mhm.
want to get involved in anything like that. I don't want to know my neighbors. I just want to hide out in my house."
Mhm.
And that's a lot of what goes on. The trouble is that hiding out in your house isn't going to get you through anything.
No.
And this is a very selfish look. Not knowing my neighbors means that I can't depend on them to help me through a problem. But on the other hand, not knowing my neighbors means that I can't help them.
Yeah. True enough.
So
Yeah.
everybody looks at it from their point of view, but I
Yeah.
also am a very capable person. I could come help lift things off of you. I can come help keep pressure on while we figure out how to get a medical professional here.
Yeah.
You know, these are all of the things that you think about, but you think that nobody's going to help you. That's the message that keeps going through our head. Nobody is going to help you.
Well,
That I'm out for myself and I'm not going to be there for you.
and I would say that comes from all the things we've talked about. And I know, like in me personally, from a young age, you're always taught rely on yourself, rely on yourself, rely on yourself, because you can't count on anybody else around you.
And the funny thing is, as human beings, we're wired to depend on each other.
Yeah, I
But
get
that's
you.
been broken apart by this toxic culture we have and have had for thousands of years, and it's just getting worse. The trouble is that it's a short-sighted culture and it doesn't give a damn about humans. So when humans die out, the culture
Hmm.
will die out, and it's a machine, it doesn't care.
Yeah.
When you talk about Terminator, I always think, yeah, okay, so what's really going on here is our cultural machine is going to kill us. So all of that AI talk, I'm not worried about AIs. I'm worried about our freaking culture.
See, that's the thing. I watch the sci-fi and the AIs. Look, when they start talking in real world, we're going to give robots intelligence. Really? Did you not see that movie? I mean,
On the other hand, people are terrified of Alexa being in our home.
yeah.
And I'm looking at it. Have you talked to Alexa? Have you tried to get Alexa to do anything? That's not AI.
Oh
That's a
no.
that's a monkey.
Well, I can tell you, and we were having this discussion in the office yesterday because I said something to my phone to Siri, and well, Ernest had Alexa for like 3 months. We're playing video games. I hear him in the headphones. He's all, Alexa, turn to this, and Alexa does something completely different. And I'm like, really? And then you hear Ernest just cussing at Alexa, just you
Oh
know,
yeah, I actually ours we have one in the house that we use for music, and it sometimes listens and tries to respond to us when we haven't said the keywords,
Mhm.
and I find that offensive. But I have been known to say something rude to it, and it will go "Mump,"
Mhm.
make a sound at the end of it.
Yep. Oh
Yeah,
man.
blank off.
Yep. Yep. Well, and that was we had got on that topic because we were sitting there and Stephanie had her tablet on with music on, and she said something and it keyed Siri on her tablet and shut her music off. So Stephanie's yelling at turn my music back on, and every time Stephanie say something, it shut the music off.
And this is the AI we're terrified of. No,
Yeah.
AI, AI falls into the same category that falls under with the assumptions and acceptance issues I
Mhm.
have. Um, and I talked about this last week, I think, again. We have lab grown meat now that's going to be sold thanks to the USDA and our government saying that this is a safe thing. Is it?
That would be my question too. Is it? Because I mean,
Is
it's
it going to
essentially
meet our
farm meat.
nutritional? I mean, okay, you're cloning chicken essentially.
Yeah.
Is it going to meet our nutritional requirements, or are we going to find out it's Frankenfood at some point?
Well, Soylent Green, man.
Yeah, I know, and the point for me is, we tend to play God,
Mhm.
uh, GMOs, and we tend to play God for profit, which means that we shortcut a whole bunch of the science
Yeah.
to get it to market to make money off of it. And we underfund a whole bunch of research that could actually solve real problems
Yeah.
because it's not profitable.
Well, I would say that the cloning the meat and stuff, yeah, I don't know that, lab grown meat's gonna meet nutritional standards or not, if it's not gonna be the same. Again, if it was born on
Is it
or,
is it a government lab testing it?
yeah, and how good is that government lab testing it? Now, if you
Right.
can do that, why are you not doing that with organs for people? Because, I mean, we've got donor lists for people with organs for days. So if you have this science and it's fully tested, you know,
Yeah. Well, people don't matter as much as profit does, and you can sell
no,
the
people
meat.
have never mattered as much as profit. The only thing that people come into in profit is spend your money on us.
So is real security not changing that mindset?
Real security would have to be changing that mindset.
And the only way that mindset can get changed is when enough people come together to change the mindset. I mean, you guys must be getting really tired of hearing this every single week.
Well,
But the core message you're trying to get to is we the people need to change it. And we the
I,
people need to find commonalities. That means we the people need to find out how to become connected to each other.
I would agree with you on all those statements. I have been here, and Mark, as a fact, I have
Yep.
watched all 50 shows. No,
Yep.
and yes, every week it's driven home the same way. You and Marwan, me and you, doesn't matter. We need to get together and do this. We
Yep.
need to work with each other, not against each other. You know. So
And we can make everything better if we do.
yes,
But we're so afraid. So I'm going to give you the quote that I got from, I have a 25-year-old daughter. So I came up through the Hillary Duff and Amanda Bynes phases. And
yeah,
one of the Hillary Duff movies, Cinderella Story, had a line that I now have on my computer screen in front of me. It says, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game."
exactly. That is exactly it. I mean, for what that means. I mean, I if you fear to go out and try, you know, you're not gonna engage in life. You're not gonna engage in the world.
Exactly so. And you're not going to meet your neighbors. Now, your neighbors and you can start
Mhm.
growing food together.
Yeah.
You guys, one person who's, let's say somebody is I'm just going to go wild with this. Somebody in your neighborhood's a massage therapist and somebody knows how to fix cars,
Yep.
but he's got a bad back. The massage therapist works on the person's back. The guy with the skills and the mechanic works to fix the person's car and keep the massage therapist's car running. And I will tell you, I'm going to generalize like crazy here. So I'm raising my hand to say this is happening. A lot of massage therapists I know have cars with issues. So I mean, this is just one thing.
Fair
If
statement.
everybody works together on a community neighborhood, everybody shares the food. I'm sure that anybody who's gone food shopping recently realized the prices have gone up and have not come back down.
Oh yeah.
And
I was in
but
the grocery store last night, man. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was at Costco yesterday doing our shopping, and I was like blown away that a couple things actually came down in price. I use a lot of solid coconut oil when I cook,
Oh, okay.
and coconut oil went from $22 down to 16.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I mean, there's several things that came down. Bell peppers finally came down. But there's a lot of other things that are skyrocketing. Eggs are still for at Costco flat of 5 dozen eggs is $18.
Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention the last time I was in Costco at that. I do know, like, we get our coffee there, our K-Pods and all that stuff.
Oh,
And
everybody, coffee at Costco, the San Francisco brand beans
yeah.
are down to $12 for 3 pounds.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we bought that's $5 savings on it. So you heard it here. For those of you
Yep.
coffee junkies like me, we bought 6 pounds of coffee to get through the next couple of months because $12 a pound is something you don't see very often, or $12 3 pounds is not
6
something you
pounds of
see.
coffee might get us through 2 weeks. Again,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm saying the collective us. If you come on over to G2, we drink some coffee.
Yep.
You know?
So I
Um,
mean, but those are the things. Coffee prices are going up, and we can have a whole different conversation at some point about what happens if we do have a disaster or coffee fields failed, which they are failing. There are
yep.
lots of reports about coffee around the world failing because the climate is shifting, and
Yeah.
coffee grows best in certain climate and certain air and air and temperatures in the mountains, and those are changing. So
Yep.
we're getting less and less coffee. It's going to continue to go up in price. We're in the Northwest. We
Yeah.
drink coffee, and coffee is liquid sunshine to us. What happens if we can't get coffee?
Oh, I know a few people that just might go on a rampage. I might be married to one of them.
Yeah. So what do we do? I mean, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of thinking that has to happen, all kinds of questions. And let's be honest, folks, I know a minuscule amount about what needs to happen. I know a fair bit more about how it needs to happen because I've been doing it for 20 years. And they say if you do anything for 20 years, you become an expert at it. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I know a lot. Um,
Yep.
what I know is that without you coming to the table, without the puzzle pieces showing up, we will never get where we need to go.
Sorry. I would
Am I
say
boring you? I'm
no,
joking.
you don't bore me at all, man. Not at all. This has nothing to do with you and everything to do with I'm just old. Um,
Yep.
um, I, you know, it to know what has to be done, and like you said, it's a minuscule amount, but the more people that come to this, the more we can know,
Exactly so.
because it's how do I get educated? I mean, I can read everything in the world, but if you're an expert in it and you know more about it, you can teach me, you
I
know?
provide what I can provide, and what everybody provides is context.
Yeah.
And knowledge without context is useless.
Yeah.
Context is the part that tells you, should I do it?
Yeah.
Knowledge is the part that says, can I do it? So,
Yeah.
the hold my beer and watch this
Yeah.
would be a lot different if you had context about the consequences.
Yeah.
And I will promise you, I make this, and I'm just going to say this to everybody. I'm going to look right at it. I promise you, every single one of you out there has a piece to the puzzle. You all see things through filters that have been developed by your life experience. And while you may or may not value that life experience or who you are, I promise you, you have a piece to the puzzle that will be vital.
Mhm.
You will ask a question, you will see something, you will listen to something, you will figure something out, and it will fall into place and make our lives better. But it won't happen at all unless you're at the table so we can fit the pieces. Intense enough?
I think you made your point. I think you made your point to the people quite well, you know? Um, but yeah, the only thing here it is, like you preach every week. Y'all got to bring your piece to the table. The best you can do is provide a framework for them to put that piece in. You
Oh,
know what
wait
I'm
a minute.
saying?
We have the edges of the puzzle. That's the framework.
That's what I'm
We did
saying.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we spent 20 years doing.
Yeah.
So
So,
now we're inviting you to show up
mhm,
as we do every week.
every week.
Come one, come all. Thank you, Terry. And and funny thing is that sometimes you end up in a relationship and becoming friends with somebody,
Mhm.
especially on social media and Facebook, out of the freaking blue.
Yeah.
I have been in conversation with this girl from Korea for about a week now. She saw a woman in Korea who, I don't mean to say girl, she's a woman in Korea.
Mhm.
Um, saw one of our posts.
Okay.
She's not a friend of mine. She's not a
Mhm.
friend of anybody I know. She's not
Mhm.
a friend of anybody I know. Facebook randomly sent one of our posts from the Kitsap Resiliency Project to her in Korea. Now
Wow.
I can't get posts for my stuff to be seen by people who I know really well and talk to all the time. But
Well, that
somebody
algorithm.
Yeah, so somebody from Korea reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's talk about what you're posting here." And then now we're friends, and now we're sharing food pictures and talking about that. She's giving me an awesome recipe for kimchi to make
Okay.
myself. And this is just randomly somebody reached out to me because Facebook put a post that I wrote um, on her page in Korea.
Okay.
Blows my mind. Facebook can get me connected to somebody in Korea, but can't get me connected with people in my own backyard.
Oh, there's that.
It's a little frustrating, I have to admit.
That is an
Um,
incredible algorithm.
yeah, and mostly I say it's completely useless, except I'm getting a really good kimchi recipe and meeting a cool person.
Well, there you
But
go.
this is the thing: is we're stuck to social media.
Mhm,
I know a lot of people that aren't on Facebook anymore. I know lots of people in my Facebook friends that don't check their Facebook ever or
mhm.
hardly ever. Rob doesn't check his messenger on Facebook very often.
And
So, and
true
me,
statement.
I yeah, and I don't again, I'm not on my phone hardly at all when I'm not here. I'm on
Yeah,
Facebook on my computer. When I leave the house and get in the car, I don't look at Facebook. I don't look at my phone. Matter of fact, neither of my phones has Messenger or Facebook on it
I have
because
Facebook on my phone.
I don't want to have that beeping while I'm trying to drive or do anything else. And, Rob will tell you that I don't answer messages or the phone when I'm driving.
Yes,
So,
very true statement.
yeah, I personally, personal opinion, I'm not speaking for Resilient Ecosystems. I'm not speaking for Conduit or Rob or anybody else. Personal statement. I don't think human beings are smart enough to talk on the phone or text and drive at the same time. Not when one of them involves a multi-ton vehicle that you need to control in a very populated area with people who are also texting on their
Mhm.
on their phones while driving. I think it's an
I think
extraordinarily bad idea.
I think the laws that were put in place to stop people from trying to do those things were good intentioned, and
But it's
right.
not going to get enforced because we don't have a police force that's manned up enough to even do traffic stops anymore.
Well, I would say that you're correct most of the time, but you know how much I drive, Mark.
Yeah,
So, I mean, and I'm out there in the middle of the night, and I actually do see the police force pulling people over occasionally. I mean,
occasionally, but
unfortunately,
not like they were 2 years ago.
oh no, I was out on New Year's Eve doing one of
Yeah,
our rides, and I was watching them. I mean, obviously, Whedon Way was a focused area,
yeah.
and I had the dumb luck of as I took our client to where they had to go, I turned to come out, and my headlight went out on one side.
Oh,
Yeah,
at
well,
least it's a fix a ticket.
I got pulled over, and literally, when I showed the guy and told him what I was doing, it wasn't even that. He's like, "No, man, you're good. I'm sorry. I have to check everybody because I mean, it's an emphasis patrol. It's New Year's Eve,
Right.
you know." And so I immediately went home. Next morning, I went and bought a headlight. But
Yeah.
you know, at midnight, you're just, nobody's hoping for you to buy a headlight.
Nope. And so, and mostly it's a fix a ticket. If it just went, I say
Mhm.
it just went out literally
Yeah,
as I was driving. Um, but yeah, it's
yeah,
and we can go on and on about this, but real security, going back to real security, and I don't want to wander too far to the point. Real security is us coming together and having
mhm,
each other's back.
yes,
And that's the bottom line. I mean, together we can make. So, how does that solve shelter, water, and food? A community together can grow food.
yes,
Front yards, backyards, there are already people in your neighborhood growing food. If everybody comes together and more people do, and if, let's say some people are constrained by finances, and the neighborhood comes together and helps them buy seed and the things they need to do that, and everybody shares that, and then they all share the food. That's food security right there in
yeah,
your own neighborhood. That's the ability to offset the costs and make everybody's life a little bit better.
yeah,
Skill sharing, going to first aid classes and have a couple three people in your neighborhood up to level. And G2 and Resilient Ecosystems have been talking on and off about this, and I'm going to be following up with it in the next couple months. We're hoping by summertime we will be working to put a few serious emergency first aid classes on. I had talked to a couple of the Fort Lewis McChord Army Rangers, and they said they are one of their tasks are to come out and teach the community first aid. So I'm going to
yeah,
follow up with that and see if I can find a way to put on an event. We need space. G2 and Resilient Ecosystems needs space to put on several events that we have. So if you know of and or have a place that can be used as a hall, let us know, please.
Please.
You can go to the Kitsap Resiliency Project page and message us, or the Conduit, or Gather Together, Grow Together,
Yes.
and let us know. And Rob will let Stephanie know that that might come through so that she won't go WTF, man.
Oh, gee, thanks.
All right. So we're coming up in the last 20 minutes, and I want to talk about water security, and I want to talk about power security. Here's reality. We installed the national grid around the 1950s and 1960s in a post-war tax era that left us with an enormous amount of resources. It was the golden age that everybody talks about.
Mhm.
What they don't talk about is the fact that we were taxing corporations up to 90% of their profits, and everyone was still thriving. Everyone was thriving. Not 1% of everyone was
Yeah.
thriving. So taxing the corporations is not evil. It is the thing that all the Republicans, the right-wing Republicans, look wistfully back on in the wonderful golden age of our time in the US was because we taxed the bloody hell out of the corporations. Here's a couple other things
Yep.
that happened at that point. Talking about shelter.
Mhm.
Prior to the 1970s, late 1960s, suddenly some light bulb went off in some accountant's head, and then mortgage rates and everything changed. So it required two people to qualify to buy a house. Prior to
Yeah.
that, one person could buy a house. Since then, housing prices keep going up and up and up and up and up.
Mhm.
And it's because people are making loads of money on it. So, I'm not an expert on housing. I'm not an expert on um, low income housing. I'm not an expert on the shortage, but I am an expert on asking the next question. I will say that I'm an expert at that. And here's something that makes no sense to me. I saw our lieutenant governor make a very rousing and awe-inspiring speech to a very small group of committee at the Capitol here in the state
Mhm.
about the national shortage of housing. And this is what's causing racial injustice, and this is what's causing low income housing and homelessness. We need to build more homes. Okay, sort of makes sense. Then I
How's a
started thinking about the
$400,000
census, and I
home?
started thinking about Kitsap County. I started thinking our population hasn't really changed significantly in the last 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
So, where are all the houses that we used to be in? Where's all of the homes that what happened to all the people? We have been expanding our construction here. He said that since the 2008 recession, it hit the
Mhm.
market, and everything else is gone belly up because of that. But we have been doing nothing but building in Kitsap County. We have
Mhm.
so many developments all through Kitsap County. How is it, in my mind, I'm going, how is it we have a housing shortage?
I
With
would
all
tell
of the
you
development we've got and a population that is significantly not changed.
because we have no low income housing. I mean, look, their answer to what would be obtainable and what actually is. Yes, we have this ton of housing as you're speaking.
Mhm.
How's a $400,000 house help a low income person?
Doesn't it all? And,
Exactly.
and how do we solve homelessness when there aren't homes for people? And
Yeah.
okay, so we're gonna build lots more homes. We're gonna build a lot more stick homes spreading out and creating more and more and more urban sprawl.
Yeah.
Also, Bremerton's population hasn't really changed much. Matter of fact, it dropped a bit. Now it's coming back up, but it hasn't changed much for all of the development that we've been doing in this
Yeah.
area. Now, the other part of me, the very cynical side of me, and I will put my hand up and say this is cynicism to a great
Mhm.
degree. I understand how money flows in government well enough to know that in a state where sales tax is the predominant tax that feeds into the coffers of the state, the counties, and the cities,
Mhm.
and income keeps going down and down and down, and fewer people have expendable income, which is what drives sales tax. Huh. Math
Mm.
brain goes, yeah, so the state, the city, and the county are hurting
Yeah.
for income. And we're doing all of this development, which is the other way that cities, counties, and states get money. Now, I have no numbers. I'm really upfront about this. I have no numbers. I've seen no studies. And by and large, when you go online and reach and try and research the studies or find information, it's one
Hmm.
long multi-dozen page sales pitch for the system that we're in the middle of.
Yeah.
And my other cynical part asks the question of, well, corporations have groups of people that do social media, and Google seems to have no information on anything I need, at least in the first half hour, 40 minutes of research, that isn't repeating the
Hmm.
same meme. Huh.
Hmm.
So, what I'm saying is, we're not solving the problem. There is housing being built,
Hmm.
it is not affordable.
Hmm.
We have private equity companies from, in our case, Texas, buying up our property and raising the rent 25%. Thank
Oh
you
yeah.
very much. We have private equity companies buying groups and groups and groups of these brand new houses and turning
Hmm.
around and renting them.
Hmm.
Perhaps that's part of the problem that the government isn't seeing.
Yeah.
So,
Or
yeah, go ahead.
I would say the government is supporting because, again, like you said, the almighty dollar, the tax dollar coming back in.
So now I'm going to go back to assumptions and acceptance. It is easy for us to assume that the Denny Heck, the lieutenant governor, and the Congress, the representatives and senators in the state, are complicit in this deception and
Hmm.
creating this. I don't think that's so. I think that they assume the information they're being given is legitimate information, and they accept the information at face value. On the other hand, corporations spend a lot of money putting together think tanks and influencing consultants to put this information together for the state. And I don't think that they're completely complicit because each of them are thinking they're the only ones doing it. And in the long run, we end up in a situation where everyone's assuming that something that isn't true. Everyone's accepting the falsehood based on what they know. And in the end, we all end up in a crisis where people are becoming homeless, where people can't afford to live here, and that the racial injustice continues to spiral out of control. So did I lose you? Oh,
No, no, I'm here.
okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. So I
Yeah,
think
no.
that the assumptions and as I said, the humanity, if anything else, humanity will end because we assume the truth when there isn't any truth. We accept the truth at face value, and we live a lie not because we're complicit in the lie, but because we have a system that does not provide us transparent truth, and nobody is checking the data.
Yeah. Well, that again comes back to the accepting things at face value. Obviously, if you're
Yeah.
accepting at face value, you're not really looking into what's going on.
Well, they're consultants and other people have used them, so we can use them too. And the data, I will tell you that I worked for a very large networking firm in California, in Silicon Valley. And they spent, I think the number was something like $250 million opening a line of business for something that was essentially smoke and mirrors.
Hmm.
And I was assigned to go figure out what their needs were to become profitable. And I read all of the um, marketing material to develop, the studies that were used to build this line of business. And I went back to my boss and I said, there's nothing here. There is nothing here. There is no support for the assumption that there's a customer base. There's no uh, real data on to believe that there's even a customer. There's certainly no infrastructure to support it,
Hmm.
and yet we just spent $250 million opening a line of business for a market that doesn't exist. And I've read lots of those studies. And basically, people make decisions based on assumptions about a study that has no factual basis for making those assumptions.
Yeah.
So essentially, a lot of it is wishful thinking. Market analysis should be based on actual data, and I can tell you that most of it isn't,
No, it's based on assumptions and
because
best
people
guess.
people people will tell you what you want to hear and what you're willing to pay for. Welcome to capitalism.
Well, yeah.
Assumptions and acceptance.
Mm.
All right, so we're coming into the end. Do you feel secure now, Rob?
um, I would say that we've had a decent discussion about security. The only thing you have not covered, because you talked about food security, you've talked about power security, you haven't talked about water security.
No, but I'm going to tell you about Minnesota.
Well, thank you. I really need to learn about Minnesota.
So a few years ago, Minnesota was looking. Okay, Minnesota is what they got 15,000 lakes and rivers. Minnesota is all water everywhere,
Yes.
but they were having a water crisis. Much like Kitsap County, they had all of these special tax districts, all of these special interest groups that ran water areas all through the state.
Hmm.
Some were county, some were city, but there were a lot of special taxation districts throughout Minnesota, and nobody knew what the hell was going on with anything. So Minnesota came together and said, "Okay, there's only one way to end this." And Minnesota legislature passed a ruling saying that all water was owned by the state. They closed down dozens. Well, they closed down all of the special tax districts. They put in management centrals, hubs.
Hmm.
They gathered all of the information and processed it in the state, and actually efficiently figured out where their water tables were and what was going on and what was happening with the water, and figuring out water quality, which no one else had been doing. They closed a whole bunch of wastewater treatment plants. They refurbished a whole bunch more, and they opened a bunch of brand new ones with new technologies that actually met the needs, as opposed to the old technologies like Bremerton's, where they got successfully sued for $50 million because they
Hmm.
had the storm water washing the sewage into the Sinclair Inlet. Um, so wastewater technology is antiquated and was poorly designed to start with, and we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Power security, same issue. It was designed in the 60s and 50s,
Hmm.
and we've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. Even when 2004, millions of people went dark because of one mistake and one tree branch falling. So when is it that we, the people, and our representative government steps up and fixes the freaking problem? When do we matter enough to make us to have bring us have clean water? Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. I
So when does it when did they take care of us, the people who are supposedly represented by them?
First you have to take out all the special interest groups and actually get somebody that represents the people that they're supposed to represent.
And let's see, the only way that I know we can do that is in the Constitution. What is it? The first three words. Oh,
Would that
we
be
the people.
there you go. Those are those words that you were talking about.
Yeah, we have to find human commonality.
Mhm.
As I said last week to Marwan, doesn't matter your economic status, doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter who you vote for or what party you vote for, whether you vote for any party at all. Doesn't matter how you worship God. Doesn't None of that matters. Doesn't matter your level of education. None of that matters. 3 days without water and you're just as dead as I am.
Exactly. Doesn't matter. I survive a lot
So
longer without food than I can without water.
yeah, about a week and a half actually. And without water, you don't have food either.
There you have it.
So we've talked about this. Real security is coming together and fixing the issues that face us that threaten our lives.
Mhm.
Now, yeah, that's a big thing. Hard to wrap your head around. But the fact of the matter is you don't have to do it alone. You just have to bring your piece of the puzzle and put it into the frames we've built, the edge of the puzzle we've built, and we will collect data and we will connect people and we will start moving this forward. And when we go to the local government and say this needs to get fixed because it's killing us, we need you to show up. That's it. And we need you to get together with your neighbors and take care of your own backyard.
Yeah, that really is it.
And as I threw back at Marwan his own words, many hands make light work. So let's bring our hands in, buddies. Let's bring them
Yeah,
together.
there you go. This has been an enlightening hour, Mark. I mean, talking about security and everything else. I've enjoyed the conversation. I've learned some things, and you know,
That make you think?
what? No, huh?
That, yeah,
Yes, very much so. You know, because I mean, it is as I read at the top of the show. Um, a lot of people view security in a lot of those ways. You know, and most people might makes right. You know, I mean, if you're stuck in that situation like you're talking about with Cascadia Rising, most people's thoughts will be, I got a bunker full of food and I got a gun. So,
most people don't have a bunker full of food, and the few that
well,
do won't have it long.
true, you know, but that is the mentality though, is what I'm trying to say, you
Yeah,
know.
it is absolutely so. And what we
And
need to do is get together in a neighborhood because I got to tell you, somebody might have a partially empty garage you can store food in.
yeah,
And let's be real about a couple things. I've thought on many occasions about expanding my storage facility where I have the all of the office equipment or filings and files and stuff and archives
yeah,
for resilient ecosystems, and putting food and water in there because there's really not much space around here. But is it walkable from where I live to where my storage facility is? And
I
can
would
I
say
afford the extra, 50, $60 a month to expand it?
true. And I mean, and walkable, I mean, I would consider walkable if you're carrying some of those supplies back a mile at best,
Yeah.
you know. And what is the terrain on that way? So, you
And
know,
if you have a Cascadia, the roads are going to be impassable to a great degree. So you're going to be walking, on broken ground.
yep,
So you think these things through. And the thing is that I don't know what I don't know.
yeah,
And there's a whole freaking galaxy that I don't know, but you might,
or at
and
least a
somebody
little part
will.
of it to add
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. And somebody will. And that's how the picture gets built.
Mm,
I can make this all about my needs, but that won't solve the problem.
no. Oh, Mark, we're coming up on the end of our hour here, so I'll give
Yep.
you the last word and we'll go from there.
Humanity is about connecting to others. It doesn't matter what has been said. It doesn't matter what you have been taught. It doesn't matter what this cancerous, broken culture we live in has taught you. Human beings are about connecting with each other. We need to learn how to do it again. And final pitch, the new series of workshops will be starting on the 18th at the Fifth Street Library in Bremerton, and we will be going from 12 till 2:30. No, yeah, 12 to 2:30 every Saturday for 12 straight Saturdays, starting on the 18th. Please attend.
All right. Well, and with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. For Mark Boatwright Frost, I am Rob Dent, and this has been Tipping Pieces and
Tipping
Tipping
points
Points
and
and Puzzle
puzzle.
Pieces.
That's it.
I'll get it one day.
Yeah.
And I would also like to invite you back at 3 o'clock to tune in for our housing segment here on the Conduit. And thank you and have a good evening or good afternoon, I should say.